Fire safe. Good day.
Oh, hey, FireSafe is on. I like FireSafe very much.
Oh, he's actually in the U.S. now. That's cool.
Oh,
Well, that doesn't count.
well, how long is he in the U.S.?
I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
And where is he?
Yeah. Okay. So once I notice that the stream is, let me reset myself. I could be talking right now, and he's not going to know. Let me refresh my screen here.
Oh, there is still the delay.
Yeah.
But let me know that everything's working right, because I would like to just close the WordPress page.
We show on the air. The little dial is spinning.
And then, Mark, what we'll be doing is when we start the show,
yes,
you will be muted until we get through the geocaching question of the day, and then I will unmute you, so you don't have to worry about making noise or anything until then. But, you know, don't go too far, because it's only going to be a few minutes.
Please try again. I will do it again.
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
No, it's not.
Let's see. It's spinning. For half a sec, it says live, but I don't see a stream.
It does say live, though?
For if you put your button over it, but it's just sitting and spinning. For the people in the chat room, if you can see us on the stream, would you let us know? Just tell us you can see us. It just might be my computer doing this, but I have a feeling it's not.
And then, Mark, I do have those screenshots handy. Those only go out for the people who are watching the live stream.
Right. I was assuming I wouldn't refer to them directly, or you just
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything that you want to describe would probably be good, but I'll try to kind of follow along and figure out which screenshot you want at the same time.
Okay.
All right. Let me see if I can restart here.
We got about 3 minutes till error.
Caching podcast. Duda. Yeah, Chrome is definitely not playing nice tonight on this.
Well, that would be a problem.
Because No Name yet said he could see me, but he could barely hear me. Daryl was sounding good. But he was the only person. There we go. I see me now. All right, so it's just taking its time.
Okay.
Let me put me back over here.
More Flash issues. And speaking of which, you heard that the CTO of Adobe is moving over to Apple.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my.
He's the guy who was doing all the posts and everything about how Flash is a great program, and
Flash? What's Flash? I've never heard of Flash.
Yeah. Well, he actually came from Macromedia.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So he's been there for 2 decades or more.
Yeah, and No Name. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see Flash on the iPad. Just the guy who did Flash is going over to Apple.
No. Well, don't forget that they even killed the Android project.
Yes. Yeah, it's gone. It's dead. And
so Flash is officially dead for mobile, and kind of the word internally has been that it's dead for desktop too. They're just going to keep it alive as long as they can until they can transition everything to HTML5.
Yep. Which
HTML5 is the way to go.
Mm-hmm. You know what they do? The whole point is that it is good to try new stuff. It's good to try cool things, but sometimes stuff just doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Alrighty. Well, it is now time to start. Is everyone ready?
I'm about to ready to push the big red button.
All right. And Mark, you are now muted. And speed?
Speed.
You wanna know how to find it. Seek it out when they hide it. You know it's in the bag when it's an easy grab. Come on, take a chance now. So go, geocache, geocache. And if you need help, we're right there in a flash. If you got a question, just call in and ask. Uncover the stash on the Geocaching Podcast. The Geocaching Podcast.
Welcome to episode 295, Geosphere 3.0, recorded live on March 20th, 2013. I'm your host, Daryl W4 with
Ed Hardhat.
You can join our live chat room and video stream and watch us as we record live this episode and every episode, and you can participate with other listeners. That can be found at www.geocachingpodcast.com/live. Our voicemail line is 630-31-VOICE. Find us on Twitter at geocachingpodcast.com/Twitter and Facebook at geocachingpodcast.com/Facebook. This episode is sponsored by Cache Advance. Well, welcome back, Ed Hardhat. It's been a week and a day, and unfortunately, XPunkX wasn't able to join us today.
No, and it's very ironic that XPunkX couldn't actually be with us tonight because we have been hearing for a long, long time about him beta testing this really, really cool product, and we were just waiting for him to go and start spilling the beans on this stuff, and guess which one it was?
Yeah, well, we're really happy to have the developer of Geosphere here today to talk with us, and really hope that Andy would be here to kind of fill us in on all the new features and everything else. And the two of us have just gotten this in our hands today during its official release, and haven't really had much time to talk about it. But
no, we've seen the older version and played around with that. I've used it on my iPad, and it's usable on the iPhone and that, and not Android yet. But it's been really kind of cool. And so, yeah, we got it on, and this is going to be a good episode because there's a lot of really cool things with 3.0.
Yeah, and that's the app that I use most of the time for my caching, including the ones that I did just this weekend. The iPhone isn't the best caching device, but it's the phone that I have with me all the time. It means I don't have to take the other hardware with me. So when we go caching, that's always with me. I always use it for the field notes and everything, and Geosphere is the best way to do that.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've always really liked that seems to be a little bit lacking on other applications is the ability to just spread out any amount of circumference diameter of where you're from within, a few feet to miles, and to just nicely see where all the geocaches are placed. So you kind of get an idea of what kind of a run you want to do and how you want to approach it, that type of thing. And that's one of the things that I always liked about it.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll get into that, I'm sure, a little bit later on. Have you done any caching since the last time we chatted?
Yeah, the weather is not been the best, but you can't tell the flowering plants, and if you can hear my nasal in my voice, you can always register how well it's doing. The crab apples and the pears are starting to bloom a lot, and you can see the trees are getting buds. By the way, Daryl, buds are those little things on the edges of the trees. I know up in Michigan they don't know what that is till like July, but yeah, all the trees are getting ready to flower and go crazy, and all the pear trees are all white and everything. So it's gorgeous down here, but it's been cold and wet and damp. So I actually went out and did find a couple of geocaches and a couple of munsies. It wasn't really the greatest experience, but it just felt good to be out and actually geocaching. How about yourself?
Well, we did get out for a few caches on a really nasty day, a couple of DNFs and stuff too, which you absolutely hate, especially when the weather's as bad as it was.
Oh, yeah. Just makes it worse.
But I did manage to get a challenge cache on Sunday that was right near home, just going out for some regular old shopping. And I always like when I get those,
Oh, absolutely. And I guess the other good news is DeBear asked me if I wanted to carpool with him to Geo Woodstock 11 down there in Lakeland. And so we are going to be going this year. We have just registered. I'm looking forward to a fun-filled set of days with him and me trying to keep from killing each other, but having a lot of fun finding geocaches along the way and having a good time at Geo Woodstock. So if you are going, let us know. We'd like to hear about where you're going to be at and what you're doing at Geo Woodstock 11.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to go, but can't do it this year. But DeBear did actually write in with some listener feedback.
Listener feedback.
Okay, I'm going to try to do this without pulling in the Canadian accent. You all know that I know TeBear with GeoSnippets Reboot podcast. Anyways, let's see what he says. Gentlemen, I wanted to provide a comment about being a host at an event as discussed in the March Cacher Coffee episode, specifically the issues surrounding new cachers sometimes getting lost in the crowd. It is my personal and humble-ish opinion that the host has some social responsibility to look out for these new cachers and make sure that they are included, perhaps make some introductions, but at least introduce yourself. I'd also say it helps to put more information on the cache page about how to find the group, meaning that a restaurant is not always helpful to somebody new to the group and doesn't know anyone there. Any details like we will reserve the back room under this name or look for the host and post a picture of said host would also go a long way towards helping out the new and timid cacher enjoy their first events. If you are in a restaurant with waitresses that seat people, letting them know there will be a group coming helps save that blank look when you ask them, where are the geocachers? Oh, I can understand that one. Anyways, assume there will be someone new and do all that you can to accommodate them. You never know when you'll be meeting your next geocaching friend. Cheers, Dave DeBear.
Yeah, very true. And anytime you do anything at any establishment, you want to let them know. And it doesn't hurt to call back even like a day or two before just to confirm. You know, we've had that problem around here where you talk to the appropriate people and they just don't happen to get the word down that there's a big group coming.
Oh, yeah. And there's nothing like that panicked look on a series of wait staff going, how many? Yeah. You make sure they know you're coming.
Yeah, definitely. And it's always a good thing to scout any location you're going to use for an event so that you can get some feel for the venue and how to handle stuff like that. But in a lot of those venues, it's not easy. And if you don't have a cacher coming up to you, you might not know that they're a new cacher who needs those introductions.
Very true. It never hurts. I mean, it's not like geocachers don't carry signs when it comes to geocaching. In many events that they have something like that. Wouldn't hurt to put up a little sign saying geocachers meet here. Something to let people know so that the less miscommunication, the better.
Yeah, and the name tags can help a lot as well.
Yes, mine flashes.
Geocaching question of the day.
Hey cachers, I'm Lookout Lisa from Cache Advance, your host for the geocaching question of the day. Well, I've been caching since 2002, and I've been in the business of geocaching since 2005. Mondays through Thursdays, we ask our followers on Twitter, Facebook, and Google Plus a question about geocaching. Well, we recently asked, have you completed a Trackables mission or been a part of the last leg? Well, over 90% of cachers have completed a Trackables mission. That's pretty impressive. Well, here's some of what we heard. One cacher said, yes, I travel for work, and a few times I've been able to drop a TB near its destination. Makes me feel all fuzzy inside. I think we know that feeling. Another said that they were, quote, instrumental in getting it to its final location in Dartmoor, and that the owner picked it up almost straight away. Well, that's great that it actually got into the hands of the owner. Another shared, I took a flask to Hawaii and handed it to the owner's brother. He offered me the first sip from the flask, but I passed. That might have been a wise choice. And then for the home run, one cacher said that they brought the TB to Fenway Park. Oh, wow, that's awesome. Well, we really enjoyed hearing about Trackables completing their missions. And you can too, if you Follow us, Cache Advance, on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+ for the geocaching question of the day. Thanks and happy caching.
And we here at the Geocaching Podcast recommend if you are feeling fuzzy inside, you might want to see a physician about that as quickly as possible.
Or at least check that label on that flask.
Yeah, definitely. Well, as we mentioned, we have the developer of Geosphere 3.0 on to talk with us about that great new app. So welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
So this has been a long time coming. I know that we've been hearing about this for probably about a year or so as the old app kind of started to feel a little old and the live API started coming out. So what are some of the big new things that people should expect when they open version 3.0?
Well, the first thing they're going to notice is there's a completely new and improved user interface. When I took a step back, this was about a year and a half ago, and was trying to see how can I take all the features that Geosphere has, add the API in a meaningful fashion, not just kind of shoehorning it in. It really became obvious that what we needed was something that was a lot cleaner. There'd be situations, not really unique to just Geosphere, where you'd find yourself with a sea of buttons across the bottom at the top, and certainly users would sometimes be like, not sure what to do. So I took all those ideas and rolled them in and said, how do I do something that just looks consistent and allows me to bring a whole bunch of new features out?
Yeah, so really this is a complete rewrite, as I understand it, from the ground up. It's all new. It's not Geosphere 2 Plus. It's a whole new Geosphere app.
Mostly. I mean, there certainly are some core elements internally, like the database structure. Those are actually preserved. But everything the user is interacting with is definitely new.
What made you decide to change the features that you did and reincorporate them into the new rewrite? What caused all that?
Well, the most important feature that was being added, of course, is the GC Live API. So Geosphere version 2 was particularly helpful for cachers who knew how to go offline. They could get their GPX files or pocket queries and pull them into Geosphere. Now with the GC Live, that changes things. It's certainly easier for the premium member to pull that stuff in, but you also have people who are not premium members who are picking up the app and saying, okay, I just want to see what's near me. So I tried as much as possible to provide both sides of the equation, how to cache online and how to do it offline, so you can decide which way makes sense given the circumstance.
Well, and speaking of offline, you have now integrated with the Dropbox API so that you can use that to do offline. But it still does. Oh, that is awesome! I love Dropbox. But you also still can do the emails and that kind of thing. Are there anything, any tips or maybe pitfalls that we should share that people who are used to working the old way would want to know about when using 3.0?
Well, let's see. If you were used to, in version 2.0, bringing in your pocket query or GPX file via a webmail interface, I mean, those were all put in actually in early versions of Geosphere, back before the days when you could just use the built-in mail app and pull and transfer your file. So those methods all work. But they're not the preferred. They're not the simpler method. It's much easier now if you have a pocket query you want to get directly from geocaching.com to just go to the place where you have the list of your pocket queries and say import that one. If you're bringing in data files from other apps or programs like GSEC, for example, then yeah, the Dropbox, those kind of methods are going to be much simpler and just easy to access.
Yeah, and I have to say, just with the little bit that I've played with this so far today, the ease of use is much more in force here for the API. So instead of before, the old app tended to have where you had quite a few kind of hoops and leaps and bounds and different things that you had to do to get things accomplished just to get a pocket query in. Now you push a button and it goes. I love that.
Yeah, the old app had a browser that was kind of front and center to a lot of things you might do. And now that feature's still there, but it's more of a minimal side of it. It's still there to do things on the internet directly if you need to, but most users will find that they don't need to.
Right.
And most of the iPhone users are going to notice right off the bat that it now has the Retina graphics, and those of us who have the iPhone 5s are going to notice it actually does fill the screen. It's no longer letterbox. But unfortunately, there's still no iPad specific layouts. It's not a universal. It's an iPhone iPod Touch app. But it does now support a landscape mode, and I found that that's not too bad on the iPad.
Right, and throughout the app, every single screen was designed to be portrait or landscape. You can go either way with it. Now, there are users who don't want that, and just to let them know, under settings, you can lock it in any orientation you'd like if you have a preferred.
I also liked, I mean, it's just a little thing, but it made a difference to me, was you can turn on and off the borders.
Right. Yes, there is a touch of a three-dimensional border around, just to kind of pull the screen together and the theme of file folder tabs. But if you've been using it for a while, you don't want to see those. That's fine. It gives you full width of your device. Okay, so that I don't take you off the hook, are you planning on going iPad with this? Yes, there are a couple features. iPad is interesting because I put a lot of development actually into it, and people who know me know that when I try to release a product, I release it when it's ready and it does a good job, not just kind of premature. So in this beta process that I've been going through for the last 3 months, I had realized that I needed to turn off the iPad feature, focus on getting the iPhone right first, and then I'll revisit the iPad. So it is well into development, but I don't want to just have larger screens, if you know what I mean. iPad you can do so much more with it, and that's what I want to accomplish with the iPad version. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Get it right before you put it out. It's worth the wait, seriously. With the actual functionality of 3.0 is great. It's gorgeous. It's easy to use. It's very, it's not cumbersome looking when you go to use it. And I just, since I mainly use an iPad, I would love to see it go that way eventually, but it's worth the wait. Now, there's one other thing I'd like to point out, if I could, for users who have been using version 2. It's just the whole idea of utilizing the online searches for that more spontaneous caching. I mean, if you're a planner, and that's great, you have all your Pocket Queries, you can load all those caches into GeoSphere. In fact, one of my beta testers has over 35,000 caches and 1 million logs loaded into GeoSphere. So he's prepared for virtually anything, but it's fairly simple to use just the online feature when you're saying, well, what's around me right now? Or if you're going to go driving down a river, you could say, just show me, you can scroll the map to the right location and say, just load this area. And you can just pan the map and keep loading, knowing that every time you do an online search, all that information is automatically being put into the database and it's ready for you offline.
Well, that's some good information about what's changed, too, is that Live API allows you to do so much more than you were before, including you now support trackables in GeoSphere 3. I love that.
Yeah, trackables was probably one of the hardest features that added. At first, it seemed simple. You can log trackables much like you log caches. But as you really got into it, what made it tricky was simply that trackables are not as predictable as caches. I mean, a cache is either there or not there. With a trackable, it may online indicate it's in a different location, or you may look in a cache and find a trackable that wasn't listed, or users might enter the wrong code. So there's a few things we had to make sure we handled well.
Absolutely, and the other thing that I love that that comes with it is it splits up, just like it would on geocaching.com, where you have a choice of either looking at your list of your inventory trackables that you're going to have out in the wild, or your actual personal collection. So I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, it makes it easy for you to look and see where your collection is right now. I know my son has a trackable out there, and it's been around the world a couple of times, and so it's fun to go over there and to say, well, let's look at the ones you own and see Where is it now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one other thing with trackables was that when you're logging a cache, if you were logging on geocaching.com, let's say, they give you the collection of your inventory, which one do you want to drop off. And what I tried to do in GeoSphere is make it so that worked both ways, with the retrieval and the drop-off. So when you're doing your field note, which would become a log for a cache, right then and there you can indicate all your trackable activity all in one operation. So you didn't have to constantly go to a separate place to do it. It still works, you still can do that, but trying to kind of have a one-stop shop for the cache and trackable activity.
Very good. And one of the other things that I noticed in the list of features was the ability to sync your personal notes with geocaching.com. So even if you're going back and forth between multiple devices, you'll be able to take some kind of note and put it up there like, hey, I attempted this cache today, I got through stage 2, whatever, and do that. Now, does it also do the updated coordinates to geocaching.com?
Well, the personal note itself is a text field, and that's a geocaching.com feature that we're utilizing their database to store this information. And as you pointed out, just make sure it was clear that you're not limited to looking at that personal note from within GeoSphere. Any app that connects with Personal Note, or if you're a premium member, you can go on their website and see that Personal Note. So that allows you to put any information, including coordinates, in there. Right now, the user waypoints, if that's what you're asking about, those that you've entered, GeoSphere will pull them in, but there is not an ability right now to upload user waypoints.
Right, okay, that's what I was looking for. So if you do have, I've gone through stage 2, you might want to do the chords for stage 3 in that personal note, just in case they get lost. But the nice thing about those personal notes is you can go and enter those from the website as well. So when we're doing things like puzzle solves back at the coffee shop or whatever, we can put those notes in and have them transferred down to whatever app we're using on whatever device, like GeoSphere 3.0 now.
Right, and GeoSphere tries to make it as easy as possible for you to use that coordinate, because I now detect in virtually any coordinate format, if there's a coordinate in a description, certainly a log, a personal note, a field note, it converts it into a link, like you'd have a link on a browser that you can click and just simply say, what do you want to do with that? Do you want to use that right now as the final? Do you want to create a user waypoint or copy it to the clipboard? But the idea is you don't have to re-enter it.
I also like how that through the notes and logs section, it keeps track of not only the notes that you have that you've written on caches, it also shows all the DNFs. I love that. That is a great way to sit there to be able to quickly look. There's nice symbols there for you to see. You got that beautiful blue little frowny face thing. I love it, and it's just, I was just kind of scrolling through here going, I don't remember that being a DNF. I'm going to have to go back and check that. That's a nice feature. I like that.
Right, and you can take that same list that shows your past, whether you're looking at field notes or logs, right, and do a little text search if you don't remember maybe the cache, but you know parts of it, the name of it, or it had the word bridge in it. You can kind of filter down that list, so you can kind of find a particular one as well.
Yeah, nice job. I like that.
There are more filters. If people are familiar with the old GeoSphere, when you're doing searches out of your database, there was abilities for you to restrict what characteristics you wanted to see. And there's a whole bunch more of those have been added.
That is broken up nicely. The thing that I loved with that is the way that you have it now. So if you have anything like any cache type that you're looking for, any favorites, any of the specifics, all you have to do is push that bar and it brings down a drop-down list of all your other options that you have available with that. And it's just click, 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 and away you go. One of the things the first thing that I looked at that I haven't seen done well on other apps that is really nice on here is there's a slider bar for favorites, say, for example. So if you have a particular area that you want to go out and you want to just hit geocaches that have, say, 10 favorites to it or more, all you have to do is slide the little bar, re-hit the list, boom, all your caches come out that fall under that filter. It's so quick and easy. I really do like that.
Yeah, and you'll find some of those filters are also available when you're doing online caching. Obviously, I have to support the ones that the API supports or allows me to support. But Yes, so it makes it much easier. And also, while we're on filters, at the bottom of all the filters, kind of an other requirements where people can say, I want to make sure the cache has an inventory or is available. What's new is you can also select the opposite. You can say, I want to make sure it doesn't have an inventory, or I want to make sure, let's say it's a premium cache, well, I want to make sure it isn't a premium cache, that kind of thing. You can go both ways with the filter.
Well, it does actually now show that there are premium caches now as well, which is a new feature. But I also understand that there's now a way to save and restore your filters.
Yes, because there are so many filters, people will get into the mode of having just special ones. Maybe there's a filter set for caches around my home that are new, and so you can set up the filters which may have dates in them, date filters, and then save that as a group or a set. And you can save as many sets as you'd like, so it's easy to flip between different contexts, if you will.
Well, and you also kind of touched on the favorite points, and one of the things I like is right in that list view now, you are actually getting the favorite points showing up, so you can quickly at a glance, if you're only in an area for a little while, get a feel for which caches you want to try, because the favorite points are listed right there in the cache listings.
Right, that's a good point. That listing of caches was expanded from version 2 days, so it's more information is being displayed just so you can get a better sense right there without having to always look at the details.
That is so cool. Yeah, the other parts too, and I was looking under any category here. They've got non-cache waypoints. Are they just that? They're just like trailheads, that type of thing?
Right. Typically, when you import a cache, of course, if it has those additional waypoints, then they come in and they're associated with that cache. But you can create any ones you like. You may have your own trailhead that you're stopping. It's not maybe associated with any particular cache. You're just saying, hey, this is where I parked the car, and I want to remember how to get back here. Right. So you are welcome to create these non-cache waypoints.
Well, and some of those are probably going to come in from the Pocket Query or cache listing or whatever, parking coordinates and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned earlier that you now detect some of those coordinates, and I understand you've expanded the way that we can go and enter those additional coordinates as well.
Oh, right. Good point. So in the past, you were limited. There was one method, and that was simply little spinner dials, if you will, and that still exists. But there's for every time you want to edit a coordinate, you get 3 choices. The same spinner dials. You can also use a text entry, so it's much faster perhaps to type, and it's a special keyboard that gives you all the symbols in one spot, so you're not constantly switching the keyboard from shift key to numbers to find all the symbols you need. And then lastly, copy and paste. So you can copy and paste between different apps even if you'd like.
Yeah, and I imagine that text detection is going to come in handy when you start doing some of those puzzle caches where you have to convert from decimals to decimal degrees and that kind of stuff.
Exactly, and I support all 3 of those entries, and since Geosphere this time around added international languages, it also had to deal with, there are different symbols used in different parts of the world. So it's a fairly robust algorithm to detect virtually any coordinate.
Excellent. And as far as the languages go, I understand that's English, French, and German?
That is correct, yeah. The German market had actually been the second largest one. I always thought that was interesting, and I've always been wanting to do that. Unfortunately, I had some very dedicated beta testers out in Switzerland who put in the effort to convert everything into German. So very thrilled to have that as well. So, and you can change the language from within the app. It doesn't have to be tied to what your device is set to.
Very cool. But it doesn't do like automatic conversion of the cache pages.
That is correct.
Or translation, I should say.
Correct. Doesn't automatically do that. That is on my list of things. The issue there is that more and more companies that do translations want to charge for that service. So it's just a matter of figuring out how to integrate that in a model where people buy the app once and they get unlimited free updates. So But it's certainly something I would love to see someday when I was traveling in Europe, to be able to say, give me this new language. Even if it's a rough translation, I'll have a better sense for where the cache is.
Exactly. And one of the things that we've always loved about Geosphere was the power that it had, and you've gone and extended a lot of that here, including now you have the option to change the map pin colors.
Yes, that's been a feature that had been requested in the past. Well, actually, the pins, I should point out, have changed in that before there was only round pins, and the colors had more than one meaning. They could tell you the type of a cache, or they might tell you that it's not a cache. And so now it's a little bit revamped, hopefully simpler. Round means cache, and a triangle-shaped flag means it's not a cache, a waypoint. And so the colors basically tell you what type of a cache or what type of a waypoint, like trailhead versus parking. And other attributes such as, have you found this cache before? Is it still available? And did you highlight it? Those are just added graphics on top of the pin. So you still see the fundamental pin color. So you can see, oh, this is a puzzle cache that I have found before but is now not available. All that information just by looking at the map.
That's great. You know, one of the things, again, it's just a little nicety, but it's a nicety that I like, is the profile that you have set up. It's very slick. It's very nice looking. It gives you all the information that you need. Yes, it's on geocaching.com, but the format, the way that you put this in, where gives all the information from your finds, your trackables, your favorites, everything that you have in here, right down to your profiles and your pocket queries and your lists. Right there, I thought was really sweet with your bookmark list, so that you can just click in, and also your souvenirs. So you can just kind of, you know, granted we don't look at it all the time, but it's one of those things where this kind of catches your eye, like, oh, souvenirs, which ones do I have again? And it's right there. I do like that.
Yeah, and you mentioned pocket queries and lists. Both of them can be imported in the Geosphere. You're not limited to just the pocket queries. You can say, I want to bring in this list. I've had it for a while, you know, and you can bring in lists from other users. So you can also search for other users. And if they have a list that they've made publicly available, you can bring that one in too.
Yeah, it sure does. Find another list or another user. Very cool.
Yeah, I found that handy because, you know, you get someone else's name and you're in the field. I'm like, oh, let me just type in their name right here so I can look a little bit more about what they've done. And a real quick glimpse, that same glimpse you were talking about of all these different stats, I can just see, you know, if they're experienced cacher or new cacher, and that might change my approach to, you know, giving them a hand if they're a new cacher, for example.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a lot of new stuff, including a flashlight feature that Edward Hat and I started talking about a little bit beforehand.
I have to admit, I was just kind of going through the stuff, and I get to the point, and I see this stick with little hairs on the top of it, and I click it, my screen turns white, and I'm like, what is this? And then it dawned on me, I hit it again, and it's a flashlight. That is so cool. I don't have an LED on my iPad, so all I saw was a white screen. It's like, what is this? It's a flashlight. I love it. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And if you have an LED, then it turns on the LED and you don't get the white screen. So it just depends on your device. And of all the features, believe it or not, that's the one I probably received the most comments on. People are like, oh, I'm so glad the flashlight is easy to reach.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things that you go for more often than you realize when you get the thing. And, you know, it's like, oh, I need that all the time now. But you do have a whole series of help videos to get people acquainted with the new Geosphere 3, and I've only gone through a couple of them right now, but it does really do a good job of getting you up to date, and those are available right in the app.
They're available right in the app, and today I also posted them out to YouTube, so people who want to see them without having to watch them on the smaller screen of your device, that's available as well. But there's, I think, 4 of them out there right now, and I'll continue to make more. Certainly, I'm trying to make the whole experience as easy as I can for both new users and experienced users.
Yeah, all you have to do is go to and press the help button, and you have a selection about the videos themselves, and then the about section that also gives you information on how to get to the website, the support forum, the email support, and all the other things that are related to the app as well. Yeah, that is very slick.
Yeah, and if people are having issues or suggestions, that's what the forum is all about. Go there, and there's a whole community of people that can give you a hand, or maybe it's a feature that we haven't thought of, so it'll get on my to-do list.
Well, speaking of to-do features, before we let you go, anything else that you can share that's pending for the next release?
Well, certainly. Obviously, the development doesn't stop; it keeps going. But the one big one, I think I'd probably want to let people know that I am working on, in addition, of course, to the iPad, is Maps. I had originally hoped to get the offline maps also working in 3.0, but that had to be deferred because there's actually, it's like doing multiple implementations to do Apple Maps, Google Maps, Open Maps, and again, I want to do a really good job with it. So that is coming, and that will really complete the offline experience.
Oh, excellent. I'm looking forward to that because it does make it so much easier to have those maps cached when you're out in BFE.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We are going to have links in our show notes so that anyone who's interested can go check out Geosphere.
Well, it was a pleasure being here.
Thanks, Mark.
And thank you for listening and subscribing to the Geocaching Podcast. And we thank Cache Advance for their support of the show. Join us each Wednesday at 9:30 Eastern on geocachingpodcast.com/live and watch us record. Our show notes and links to all of our past shows can be found at geocachingpodcast.com. You can call 630-31-VOICE anytime to leave us a voicemail.